The Lord is risen. This is Father Joe Cisetti with you once again. Thank you for joining me. Last time we talked about the first of the three central mysteries of the faith, the Trinity, the Most Blessed Trinity, which basically is an exposition from St. John's writings, God is love. We now look at the second of these great mysteries. It's the Incarnation. The Incarnation is not a type of flower. It's not a type of milk. Okay? It literally means the enfleshment. The enfleshment of whom? Well, of the second person of the Trinity in the person of Jesus. Now, for Christians, probably one of the most important parts of the entire Bible is the first chapter of St. John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jump down to verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We're so used to hearing that perhaps it can lose us some of its shock value. But how can a word take flesh? But that is exactly what happens in this mystery. In the person of Jesus, the Word has become flesh and dwelt among us. More literally, it says, the Word was made flesh and pitched his tent among us. So in other words, in the person of Jesus, God enters into our world in a real, physical, tangible, concrete way. The Creator has become a creature. God has become one of us. Truly God and truly human. Truly God because only God can save us. Truly human because only another person can give us an example. And how does he enter into the world? Well, he enters in as you and I did, small and naked and helpless, and he places himself into our hands. God is so great that he can make himself small. This is what we celebrate at Christmas. Emmanuel, God with us. We no longer live Christ's life alone. God lives it with us. Think about that beautiful hymn, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. One of the later stanzas goes, Veiled in flesh the Godhead see. Hail the incarnate deity, pleased as man with man to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Beautiful description there, beautiful poetic description of what happens with this mystery. We do not live life alone. Alfred Delp was a Jesuit priest, a German Jesuit who was arrested by the Nazis and spent the last few months of his life in prison, most of the time in handcuffs, before he was put on basically a show trial and executed. But at Christmas 1944, from the darkness of a Nazi prison cell, he wrote, We should not avoid the burdens God gives us. They lead us into the blessings of God. Let us trust life because we do not have to live it alone. God lives it with us. We do not live life alone. Now God lives it with us. St. John Paul II, a number of times referring back to the Second Vatican Council, said that by his incarnation, by his enfleshment, by his human birth, Jesus has in one way united himself with every human person. This is a beautiful, rich, mind-boggling, staggering mystery. And once again, sometimes it helps to explore it more through images than necessarily from definitions. So imagine yourself and you're by a big swimming pool and you see someone in this big swimming pool who's drowning. And you think, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to yell out how to tread water. Okay, move your right arm and then your left leg and then back and forth, back and forth. You'll be just fine. Do you think that'll save a drowning person? Probably not. Aha, here's what you do. You throw the person a line. Well, the line misses. Okay, here's an idea. Start throwing in some patio furniture into the pool. Maybe the person can get some traction that way. Okay, pool's too deep. What do you have to do? You know what the answer is. You jump into the pool. The incarnation is Jesus jumping into the swimming pool of our sinful world. He comes to share life with us. Another image, okay, or it's a story of a little girl, and it was bedtime, and she was complaining that she was afraid of the dark. And her mother says, "It's all right. I'm right over here in the next room. And besides, God is everywhere." The little girl cried out, "But I want somebody with skin." Well, Jesus is God with skin. Jesus is the human face of God. Another way, another image, really it's not an image, it's from a song. Oh, about 25 years ago, there was a song on the radio, a somewhat irreverent song actually, by a singer named Joan Osborne. And she said, "What if God was one of us, just the same as the rest of us, trying to make his way home, with nobody calling on the phone, except for the Pope may be in Rome? If God had a face, what would it look like? What if God was one of us?" And I remember listening to her sad song, thinking, okay, he's already done that. He has already done that in the person of Jesus. Been there, done that, bought that t-shirt. Jesus is the human face of God. And this marvelous mystery of the incarnation tells us about God seeking to share life with us, about joining himself to us. Now, very important, the incarnation is not reincarnation. Reincarnation is not part of the Christian faith. It's not truth. It's something that is foreign to our faith. So we're not talking about reincarnation again and again and again, all these different lives. What we're talking about is the enfleshment, this marvelous expression of God's love. St. Catherine of Siena, a mystic of the Middle Ages, a church reformer, had this beautiful expression, and she cries out, reflecting on this, "And you, high eternal Trinity, acted as if you were drunk with love, infatuated with your creature. You engrafted your divinity into the dead tree of our humanity. O sweet, tender engrafting, you, sweetness itself, stooped to join yourself with our bitterness. What drove you to do this? To give back life to this creature of yours that had so insulted you. Only love, as I have said. And so by this engrafting, death is destroyed. And you acted as if you were drunk with love." What a beautiful expression of the incarnation. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. This is what we celebrate at Christmas, as I said, But you know, really, it kind of starts 9 months before that. It starts with the Annunciation, with Mary's yes to God, because that's really when the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And Christmas just represents the natural course of what happened over that period of 9 months. Jesus is the human face of God. He comes to share life with us, and he enters not as a theological concept, not as a philosophical idea. He enters in the flesh in this very real way. And the incarnation teaches us that we do not live life alone. God lives it with us. Stay tuned for mystery number 3.